Now let's start and go into the world of respiratory physiology. We will begin our study of respiratory physiology by starting with lung mechanics. Of course, the first thing we want to do is review volumes in the lung and understand the relationship between these various volumes. This graph that you're looking at would help us to understand that. Let us start off first with what is called tidal volume. Of course, you recall the tidal volume. This is the normal inspiratory and expiratory volume. Can you tell me what's the normal inspiratory or expiratory volume? If you're saying 500 mils, then you're correct. Very good. Now, let's look at some other volumes here. Now, the best way I like to teach this is to put it in a story form. Do you remember when you were in kindergarten? Seems just like yesterday. Very well. Now, remember in kindergarten you had to study the story, The Wolf and the Three Little Pigs. Do you remember? The first little pig built his house of straw. The second built his house of sticks. And the third built his house of bricks. Very good. Now, there was a reason why you studied that story in kindergarten. One day you have to do the physiology behind that story. And what's the physiology behind that story? Suppose I ask you, what was the lung volume used by the wolf when he blew down the house made of sticks? Remember, he huffed and he puffed and he blew the house down. What lung volume was used? That's right, FVC, force vital capacity. What is force vital capacity? The maximum volume of air that can be expired from the lung, FVC. He huffed and he puffed and he blew the house down. Now, suppose I ask you, what lung volume remained in the wolf after he failed to blow the house down made of bricks? That's right, residual volume. What is residual volume? The volume that remains in the lung after maximum expiration. In other words, we can never empty our lung. Very good. Now, let us suppose I ask you, what volume remains in the lung after a normal expiration? Functional residual capacity. This remains in the lung after a normal expiration. What is the volume that is inhaled maximally after a normal expiration? Inspiratory capacity. Inspiratory capacity is the maximum inspired volume in a normal person. Having said this now, we can put some mathematical relationships together. We can say, for example, that total lung volume or total lung capacity is equal to FVC plus residual volume. Now, that's a relationship worth remembering. We can also say that total lung capacity is equal to FRC plus inspiratory capacity. Very often the exam will ask us to do a calculation of lung volumes. Very often maybe they will give us total lung capacity, maybe they will give us inspiratory capacity and other volumes, and then they will ask us what's the FRC in this patient. So it's worth our while to commit these two relationships to our memory.